So having shown the entire loop for getting VNC and RDP on the device and proving it and explaining it and creating the certificate, now I'm going to do something a little bit different. Now what I'm going to do is do it on my local host. So we have this file, okay? Let's just for fun of it, let's copy it and let's call it blah, just for fun. Okay, I'm going to make dir my mount and I'm going to mount blah.image because I'm going to change it into my mount. And then what I'm going to do is q comma I think I call it either CA. There was some turbo, yeah. Target TLS stuff. That was what I packed. I'm going to just go ahead and untar it. I will untar it in my mount, okay? And just to prove you something, so if I look at etcxdg Weston, all I have is Weston.8, all right? So I'm going to untar it here. And when I do ls, then it will have my TLS stuff, which is fine and nice, okay? Now I will nmap localhost. Please don't hack me. Don't worry, you can try if you want to. And these are the ports that are open. Now, if I do chroot here, and the idea here is to show you like how to debug, should you want to debug, and that you don't really need the targets, and so on and so forth. If I go and do a chroot to my mount, and it will be quite wise to go ahead and unset the different Weston environment, and Wayland environment variables if you want, to be like very clean. Then I'll do chroot. This is a continuation of one of the previous video where I created like this ext4 file system. So it's identical to what is on my device, but I don't need to set up SSH or anything there. So if I do chroot to this fellow here, okay, then I will be in bash. Obviously, I will not have any mount because I don't have like proc mounts and so on. It's always good to have procfs to be able to do some things and to have some access to some devices, but if you get too funky, you might destroy your own dev hierarchy and especially system D and some display devices and so on. This is in case you really want to actually use the DRM or whatever. But in this case, I just want to show like VNC or RDP on my local host on an exact same system as I had in my Snapdragon device I showed in the previous video. So let's just go ahead and mount this proc, non-proc, okay? And let's also mount dev. We can also mount like sys and so on, but I'll do mount this, sorry, this dash t temp dev. Let's cut proc. I always know it. It's dev temp. It's dev temp fs. So mount that we can cut the proc file systems. Mount dash t dev temp fs. Doesn't matter this. All right. So now under dev I will have my thing. Now I already know this is an issue. So but I will try and show it anyway. Like dev PTS should be mounted as dev PTS. Okay. However, like the thing putting together thing I showed before. So let's do proc file systems and let's grab PTS, then dev PTS. We will need to like mount it as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to etcxdg Weston, okay, TLS stuff, all right. My ID now is root, which is fine. Let's look at the users here. Okay, we have Weston, and it's the exact same VNC sh file that I ran on my target device, which I created like with my shell script. Okay, so let's see what happens if we just run it. Okay, and pay attention. We run both RDP and VNC. So if we just run it, then it first of all complains. It says like, hey, environment variable xdg runtime is set to run user 1000, which is not a directory, and they're absolutely correct. So what we need to do, and of course, on a real system, or like after you do all your experimentation, you just set things up, and if you do it within Yocto and like are sure about what you want to achieve, then do it as part of the recipes. I might do it as well. But basically, we can do this run user both 0. Let's do -p and 1000, okay? And we'll change on of run user 1000 to Weston. So this will take care of our command line here, okay? Because we had things going well because we did export the XDG runtime there after the SU. So if we go ahead and run this again, and this is actually being emulated, okay? So it's unhappy about some things here. And this is important because then there is something that we need to take care of with we need to take care of not running X Wayland because we're not running X Wayland. And what happens here is that it's going to be using the default of the configuration file. In the configuration file itself, we can actually disable it completely, but you will see something like, hey, use X Wayland, true. So the only change I'm going to do here is do false. I can modify the core, I can modify other things, but this is like very, very, very obvious, okay? So that's what I'm doing here. I set it to false. And there are other things here. There is an error like with the RDP that I already am aware of, but let's first fix the other errors. So if we go VNC now, so QEMU does not complain, which is good. Before it complained and had a seg fault. Now it's QEMU because I'm running ARM 64 on my x86, okay, on the chroot because we're using like QEMU user static. So that's what we have, and we actually have these things here which are pretty good. Now I did not mount devpts, and I should. It's not okay to not mount devpts, but let's first just try VNC, okay? So I'm going to do like Tiger VNC. Here I'm going to put localhost. And we can see here it's very small, like the, hey, do you trust the certificate? And yada, 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 yada. And I say, yeah, I do. Now, here there is something that is annoying. And you do need to, there is definitely a way to get over it, or like we can provide like certificates, but you need to go ahead and provide a user and password, and you cannot just provide a user without a password. But the nice thing is that you can debug these things of user, password, and so on, because it will tell me, hey, pluggable authentication module, authentication failed. So we can go ahead and say, no problem at all. Let's set user. Let's set another password to Weston. Can do it for the root user as well in order to have VNC as root. Usually you don't need to do that. Attempt to reconnect, yeah, sure, why not? We're going to do here Weston. Weston, and there go our VNC, which is pretty neat. New VNC client connected. So we have PS. You can see here what I said before that we are actually using QEMU user static, okay? And if I go now and do this guy, then it tells me fail to fork create PTY. What's the deal here? So by the way, it's not about RDP, it's about both of them. I cannot create a pseudo terminal because I did not mount the right thing. So I'm going to do it right now, okay? But before that, let's go ahead and do. I think it will be Wayland 1, I'm not sure. Export XDG. Let's start another shell, okay, just in case. I do want it to be bash, so let's do bash. I'll do export XDG runtime dir equals var run user 1000, that was Weston, okay, and I'll do export Wayland display equal, I think it should be Wayland 1, and then I'll do Weston, let's do it simple EGL. I like to do Weston flower. So it doesn't complain about the display, so it probably works. And there it goes, it works. Okay, this is us, woohoo! But we don't have like PTY. Like I click this, it will fail. But hey, no problem because I already told you that we need to mount it. So let's do just that. Okay, so I'm going to mount dev. I mean chroot. No worries. Okay, mount dash t dev PTS. Could do none and then dev PTS. Now it will be mounted. And now if I try to actually open like a sort of terminal here, it will work. Woohoo! So it works. Okay. So we have here like PS. It's very hard to see here, but it has like a QMU, blah 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 blah, and above it has like Weston terminal. If we do PS that you should be able to see, then you have like the name, the nice name Weston terminal, and it's like QMU and then user being Weston terminal. So this is how we have all like this running without SSH and without anything else. And we can also do the same like for the RDP. So what we can do is x3 RDP. I'll do version 3 before I did like the obsolete one. I think this is how you use it, /v and then localhost. I think this should be enough. It will ask domain, password, blah, 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 blah. I want to trust the certificate. I do trust the certificate. And there we have it. We have like our display here. And it's still not very nice and fun. And version 3 also disconnected. So we're going to use the regular one. Okay. So I'm actually not sure what unknown parameter Western terminal. I think I pasted it. So yeah, I'll just get, yeah, I should have done it. I'll get out of it. I'll just use this free RDP. It's not a class on debugging RDP client, okay? We are going to trust it, and this one, the obsolete one, works better. But anyway, just use VNC if you can. That's what you should do, and so on and so forth. With Remini, will still disconnect. It's annoying, okay? Setting these things are annoying, but there are various clients. It's just not about this. I did click it, so it will work sooner or later. And just pay attention that when we run this, we're actually also running something that is emulated because it runs like a Linux in chroot. So I clicked it separately several times, and here RDP also doesn't operate so amazingly. Okay, so that's enough for me. I'm quitting it, and I showed you pretty much like how you should handle these kind of things. Now you can learn from it, and you can like run Weston in the way that it was supposed to be run. Okay, by doing like Weston start. And the Western Start itself, it would be one of the services there. So it would be etc rc5.d, okay? And then there was the seed creation. So let's run it. S9 seed d start. We're inside chroot, okay? And we also have S09 Weston, but actually here we might have an issue. Actually, this is something that I don't want to do because I have dev, and if I will start it here, like Weston with the DRM backend, because that's what the configuration file says, and let's see xdg Weston ini, then the service will want to use DRM, and it could cause issues here, which I do not want. Okay. I mean, otherwise it will just fail. Say, hey, I do not have like a DRM, and we will be happy. If I unmount dev, no concerns at all. So that's it for now, and that's good enough for like debugging it. I will just, I'm not sure like how to add another video without FFmpeg, and I just don't have that. I mean, when I do it like in video in YouTube or something, and I just don't have the time to handle it. So it's good. Like we know how to debug stuff. and how to do things. And the next video will actually show you how to integrate on the device itself, how to properly integrate either the Control Alt S keyboard shortcut, which initiates Weston by demand instead of just running it externally as I have in the last two videos, or how to start it up automatically when you actually want to like work with that. So just to recap, the only change we did here was setting xval to false. Okay, why? Because the file was parsed anyhow. If we just set everything, including everything, then the configuration file would not be consulted. Okay, so I think that covers almost everything. Maybe the very last thing that I will show for now, like about Weston, will be doing like screen share automatically or with the control test on the device. And with this, it will be a wrap for all of this, and it will give you enough data and information to just add a recipe that does whatever you want and configure Weston and share screen or disable like the KMS, the DRM backend, and just do like RDP or VNC and so on and so forth, like on your Yocto. Or as I intend to do later if I have time, but I intend to do it for like 2 years and I didn't never done it, and just do like the PSG DevOps port for that or other PSG builder support for that, and see how all of this can be really, really, really useful for portable Linux root FSs, even without using Yocto at all. But that's it for now.